Hello and welcome to Bangalore International Centre's very own podcast, BIC Talks. Bangalore International Centre is a platform for informed conversations, exchange of ideas, and a space for arts and culture. BIC Talks brings the essence of all that the physical space stands for and more to your doorstep.
Hi, I'm Padma Shri and welcome to BIC Talks. On episode 86, we featured the thoughts of musicians T.M. Krishna and Ali Sethi, exploring the question, can a South Asian identity be expressed through music? On this episode, we have concert pianist and founder of the Shillong Chamber Choir, Nongkynrih, ethnomusicologist and founder of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music, Ahmad Naser Sarmast, and dancer, choreographer and musician Ravibandhu Vidyapathi from Sri Lanka, all of them sharing their views. This episode of BIC Talks is an edited version of the second half of a live YouTube event from December 2020 by the South Asian Symphony Foundation. The foundation's co-founder, Ambassador Nirupama Menon Rao, anchors the discussion and frames the speaker's thoughts into perspective. We begin this episode with the thoughts of Ahmad Sarmast.
It's a great pleasure to be part of this discussion for me, especially representing Afghanistan, a country which is very uniquely located in South Asia, that during the centuries, it was a recipient, but at the same time, played a significant role for transforming other cultural ideas that have been moving towards South, from North, from Central Asia, from Iran, and from the Arab world. Even when we are talking about South Asia and the location of Afghanistan in South Asia, again, due to this unique location of Afghanistan between South Asia and Central Asia, sometimes Afghanistan is considered part of South Asia and most of the time part of Central Asia. And that unique position is also put Afghanistan during the centuries to play a significant role in transforming cultural ideas from north to the south and back from south to the north, while at the same time being influenced by those cultural ideas. When we are talking about those shared cultural ideas, it's significantly important that one particular area that can play a significant role in the reunification of the South Asia, it's music. And I'm confident that we all know that the musical roots of South Asia, it's a common roots. We can't say that's where that root comes from, but we know that the Vedic tradition played a significant role in the formation of what we are considering today to be South Asian cultural identity, music, philosophy. While I know that at the same time there are different opinions about this identity or this common heritage. But music was a unifying factor during the century, and it was music that was easily moved from north to the south and from south to the north. And even today, when we are talking about the music of South Asia, I clearly would like to note that, yes, there's variety of type of music in South Asia. We know that the music of South Asia from region to region differentiates. The music of people it's one phenomenon that I consider to call it the folk music of the people of South Asia, which is diverse, which is very rich. There was a huge cultural space in which cultural ideas and musical ideas have been moving forward and backward. And also those cultural ideas played a significant role in bringing peace and unity among the people of South Asia. A good example, maybe it can be the cultural tradition or the cultural life at the court of the Mughals of India, where music and culture played a significant role in the unification of various religions and various people. And music, arts, and culture has been used for establishing harmony and peace among the people. Today, but when you're playing a khayal or a tumri or a raga in India or in Pakistan or in Bangladesh, or it is acceptable, understanding and experienced and practiced by the people of South Asia. The same can be said of Ghazal, or the same can be said of Bollywood movies, Bollywood music. They are the South Asian musical identities that, regardless of all diverse musical and cultural identities, is in a way identical to the people of South Asia, and it's practiced throughout South Asia.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sarmast, and very beautifully expressed this concept of celebrating our diversity, respecting it, understanding the histories that have contributed to it, and the linkages to regions beyond. South Asia is not just a hermetically sealed space. There are linkages that we have to different regions of the world, and that is what makes, I think, our Committee of Nations within South Asia, sets us apart from many other parts of the world, where we celebrate diversity while recognizing the essential unity of what has brought us together, because we share a similar geography, migrations and ethnicities, linguistic commonalities, and that really contributes for the unity. But out of that unity, we have cultivated many, many manifestations. It's, the Americans have their national motto is out of many, one. But in our case, I think it is out of one, many have been created. Now I'd like to go to Neil Nongkynrih. Neil, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for being with us to understand how busy you are. Thank you for sparing the time.
To tell you a little bit about my background, I was obviously, very influenced by Western classical music, but I always found that very disturbing because I came from India. To cut a long story short, I came back home, found the Shillong Chamber Choir, and even in the beginning, we were singing a lot of Western music. And of course, in today's newspaper, the Midday, they quoted me saying that we have had a huge tsunami of American influence in whether it's fast food or music or whatever, and even Christmas. So my point, in fact, this is an ideal audience to hear my journey that I'm going through now. And I would like to first speak about what is happening now. Currently, I have created an album, a Christmas album, and usually they're very westernized. It's not even Christ-centered, it's supposed to be the birth of Christ, but you hear mommy kissing Santa Claus and and all this sort of nonsense that we've all been told that the earth is flat, and now I'm saying no, the earth is round. Musically, the album, although it has one thread right throughout, it has the Messiah in it, which is Handel, but done in a slightly upbeat version. But most importantly is that I have included in every song different languages, not just English. So it's a combination. I mean, we've been known for doing these little weavings of Bollywood and other languages with English. And it's the first time for the choir that we are doing, for example, we're singing in ancient Aramaic. And it was very difficult to find because many people speak modern Aramaic. When I say many, there's more of those. And so we have sung, like, for example, Silent Night is sung in ancient Aramaic. The Hallelujah chorus is done in Hebrew for obvious reasons. And the whole point is that, and we the kings, I don't say we three kings, because it doesn't say we three kings. We have to research whatever we do. We the kings is sung in Farsi, Iranian, and it's mixed with, he shall feed his flock. So my journey for a long time now is to try, and like what we are all trying to do is to introduce people to different sounds, different cultures, and to do in such a way that it becomes something that they can digest. If it's something that I'm not used to hearing and I just suddenly hear something which is too different for me, it might not be so palatable. So what I've done is, in my way of doing it, is I just use this, recall value with using popular carols, but, they're sung in Farsi and even modern Aramaic also. And I have used a lot of alabs, and you wouldn't even think it's a Christmas album if you hear it, because it sounds so Eastern, and it's trying to promote, although it's not, predominantly South Asian, but it's more like what we are talking about, The main theme today is, can South Asian identity be expressed through music? Of course. That's what I'm doing. I'm touching on different subjects in different ways. And in fact, the opera that I'm making is it's trilingual. It's not even one language. I use Khasi as the language, but we've included other languages. If you have that craft, you can weave it together so that there can be a certain weaving together as if it's one piece, rather than, separate the East from the West. And so my point is, yes, we can have our own identity, but at this junction, it is like, I think, like many people have said, it is also to be using a sort of more global approach at the same time, because I feel that whether it's food or whatever cultures, is becoming more global. So I come from that kind of viewpoint, and that we don't segregate because we have enough of that. And the other thing is, when I came back, I was very disturbed about just playing Mozart and Beethoven and all of that, because I said, that's not me. I'm predominantly an Eastern person. So I just love the tabla. I just love the alabs. I love, Pakistani music. I love all of that, And I hate all this snobbery that, the ultimate music is Wagner. Who says that,
Thank you. Thank you so much, Neil. And thank you for, again, celebrating this idea of diversity, and for speaking out so candidly and frankly and truthfully, and being what you are, being what you stand for. And really, I admire the values that you've expressed. And you expressed the need for this sense of cosmopolitanism within our region, not to look inwards, but to also be able to look outwards, not to be beholden to just one stream of tradition or music or a genre. The ability to assimilate, and I think that is what has set South Asia apart all these centuries. We were able to assimilate, we were able to adapt, we were able to incorporate so much into our own mainstream. And that is what we need to do continuously. And what you're doing, for instance, with your Christmas album, when you talk, bringing in the languages, ancient Aramaic, and having a sound and a flavor that is different from the Western conception of what Christmas should be like. And, and we're really looking forward to this album, Neil.
Hi folks, Pavan Srinath here jumping in. Let's take a small break before resuming the episode. In case you aren't following the Bangalore International Centre's social media channels or mailers, and by the way, you're missing out if you aren't, I'm pleased to share that the BIC Cafe is now open at the centre's premises at Domlur, Bangalore from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day. The cafe is open in collaboration with the Navu project. Come by anytime to try out the excellent and growing menu. You can also get custom dining on request and have private reservation for larger groups. That apart, BIC will continue to feature pop-up lunches, dinners and events by independent chefs every week. If you want a safe, open venue to eat or grab a drink in Bangalore, come by to BIC. And with that, let's get back to our episode. Please listen to Sri Lankan dancer, choreographer and musician Ravibandhu Vidyapathi with a brief musical response in between from T.M. Krishna.
To begin with, coming from Sri Lanka, a melting pot of many cultures, I've been a great receiver from the day I was born. My culture has given me the opportunity and the practice to receive from all over. Sri Lanka, situated in the, just beneath the southern tip of Sri Lanka, through the trade winds from the west and the Silk Route, we have received so many things, and it has become a real melting pot of many cultures, musical disciplines, dances, languages, and so on. Therefore, I basically endorse the ideas that Krishna and Ali and Dr. Ahmad mentioned of South Asian identities in multiplicity and celebrating the same in equal feeling of welcome and reception. So let me now read this out to you. Pardon me if this sounds too formal. Music is a primary and essential art like dancing. When man discovered and developed ways to express himself with movements, it happened with sound. All physical movements of the universe are associated with sound. So the human movement was always accompanied by sound that emanated from the throat through voice. Each individual has his or her own voice quality and voice range that is identical. Thus, the idea of identity was established in the beginning itself. So from individuals to communities, societies, to civilizations and cultures, identity became a phenomenon that is associated with all human activities. But identity as we use it today has come to play certain political connotations as well. Today, we want our identities to indicate our power, dignity, and superiority over others. On the other hand, the word identity also creates certain semantic perplexities. The word identity derives from the Latin root idem, which means the same or not changing. But civilizations, cultures, the arts and traditions within those cultures, and the forms and styles and techniques within those arts are constantly evolving and changing entities. And evolve they must if they are to survive and live. That is the law of nature. And the process of evolution is always one of give and take, assimilation, or integration. We know that neighboring geographical regions have similar cultural expressions. The last geographical separation of earth plates has taken place some 7,500 years ago. Though we were geographically separated, our cultural roots were not. That is why Sri Lanka shares many cultural similarities, commonalities with that of South India. Let me give a very small example here. Kumiyadi, the South Indian dance. Krishna, pardon me if I make any mistakes in singing this little thing. It may be wrong, but which goes like this. Kumiyadi adi kumiyadi adi kumiyadi adi kumiyadi da da la 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 da 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 da. Now,
should I join you?
Oh, great!
Okay, the same tune. This
Yes.
is a very famous tune. Subramani Bharati, a very famous poet.
Yes.
செந்தமிழ்நாடென்னும் போதினிலே இன்பத்தேன் வந்து பாயுது காதினிலே எங்கள் தந்தையர் நாடென்ற பேச்சினிலே ஒரு சக்தி பிறக்குது மூச்சினிலே. Just to tell you that.
So that, listen to this very traditional Sinhala dance, Sri Lankan dance song. That, of course, in a different time signature. Or another tune, Tana Tanena Tanam. Of course, Soundria, I have played this together so many times. So they are the same notes. Sa pa da pa ma da pa ma ga re sa ni sa re ga ma ga re sa. It's the expression, it's the application that makes the identities. The roots are the same. The roots of Sri Lankan traditional music can be traced in our ancient dance ritual chants and folk songs. Major part of the ritual music consists of complex drum rhythms and chants that are associated with the dance. Besides, we have a classical court music tradition that came down with the South Indian princesses who were married to our kings. So a natural integration of what filtered down from South India and our own indigenous music has paved way for our mainstream traditional music of today. There is also another strong and long-standing musical tradition associated with Buddhist temples. Yet another stream is what we have assimilated from the Portuguese, such as Baila and Cafrinha. So, considering all those things, I think we really cannot talk about this identity as one single entity, because there are so many identities that have come together. In traditional music, the identities are incorporated, preserved, and therefore can be easily recognized too. So we do not have to deliberate on the expression of an identity. Where then we need to express our identities. I think it is in the new music, modern music, or to put it broadly, creative music, that we need to deliberate on our identities. Because in creative music, we tend to transcend boundaries and explore new areas. I'd like to quote Rabindranath Tagore in this context when he says, "It is a sign of great genius is his enormous capacity to borrow, most often without knowing of it. He has unlimited credit in the world market of cultures. It is the mediocre who is afraid and ashamed of borrowing, for he doesn't know how to pay it back in his own coin." So in other words, what is borrowed must be turned into one's own. For example, many of us use Western classical music techniques to enrich our modern music. On the other hand, we also freely borrow from our traditional roots, its many elements, as tools in order to express identity in our new compositions. What must be remembered here is that we must pay total respect to the traditional sources that we touch and treat them carefully, respectfully, and not as mere tools. It is important that we build our new compositional structures on traditional frameworks so the world recognizes and identifies it as coming from a different cultural region. Thus, a cultural diversity is preserved against a speedy globalization, not forgetting that globalization is also an inevitable process.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ravibandhu. Again, we come back to the concept of diversity. Yes, the very important aspect of globalization, keeping one's windows open. You quoted Tagore and this ability to borrow from this world market of culture, the enormous credit that genius has in the world market of culture. I think the work Nir is doing is very much, I think, expressive of that also. But fascinating, and I loved to hear you and Krishnaji sing, and it kind of gives you goosebumps to understand the way we are all connected across borders. The roots in one part of the region, the tree grows in another. I think it's fascinating to hear that.
Thank you for listening in till the end. Please share this episode with a friend on social media, WhatsApp, or anywhere else. It would mean the world to us. And in case you're listening via iTunes or Apple Podcasts, please leave us a rating and a review. Subscribe to BIC Talks on email or your favorite podcast app, and don't miss out on future episodes. This episode of BIC Talks has Gaurav Krishna as our sound engineer, with support from S. Sarvanaraj and Lekha Naidu. And the accompanying episode artwork was made by Chandni Venkataraman.
Thank you for listening to this episode of BIC Talks. This podcast can be accessed on our website, bangaloreinternationalcentre.org, as well as on any of your favorite podcast platforms. Tune in for new episodes every week, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages to stay informed on our latest updates.